I don't trust this Justice Department to prosecute jaywalking, let alone the son of the president, in a fair manner. For all I know, Hunter's getting thrown under the bus. And I don't think Joe's above doing that. We had a hearing, speaking of justice, today on the Hunter Biden gun scandal. You may recall that Hunter Biden's then girlfriend, the widow of his brother Beau, took a gun of Hunter's and threw it in a trash can. And the reports were the Secret Service and maybe the FBI went in and vacuumed up records from the gun store in an effort to cover for Hunter. Judicial Watch sued the Secret Service for records. They came back with records suggesting that they weren't even sure if they had done anything, and so it's an open question. And the records also suggested the FBI had been involved somehow. Since then, the Biden Justice Department, meaning the compromised special counsel Weiss up in Delaware, is prosecuting Hunter Biden, right? And so what that means, a subsequent lawsuit we filed against the FBI for records about that gun scandal cover-up, they're now telling us after the fact, well, oh no, you may have filed this back when there was no prosecution and frankly no criminal investigation. We're just going to let it all slide. But now there's a prosecution. You can't have anything because it would interfere with our investigation. So that was the context of the hearing today. And I think I fairly summarized the press release, but I guess I'll give you some of the details. The FBI is so desperate to hide information from us, they're refusing to disclose basic information about the records, meaning just how many records there are. Because they're telling us that if we turned over the number, tell you how many records we found or are reviewing, and by the way, you can't have any of them because they're all law enforcement sensitive and could impact a criminal investigation, that will tell Hunter what we're up to. In an August 2023 joint status report to the court, the FBI claimed that it had completed a search for records responsive to our FOIA request and is currently processing the records, but added that its, quote, position is that the number of potentially responsive records is exempt from disclosure as this case relates to an ongoing criminal investigation, namely the special counsel investigation of Hunter that they were forced into conducting and pursuing after a Delaware federal judge exposed their sweetheart, corrupt, unprecedented plea deal that would have swept that gun charge under the rug. And by the way, I'm not taking a position one way or another whether the gun charge is legitimate or not. Because I don't trust this Justice Department to prosecute jaywalking, let alone the son of the president, in a fair manner. For all I know, Hunter's getting thrown under the bus. And I don't think Joe's above doing that. Judicial Watch filed the lawsuit after the FBI withheld records in response to a January 30th, 2023 request. And we had begun investigating this long before then with the Secret Service. It is a time sensitive, we allege. Judicial Watch has asked and the defendant has refused to provide the number of potentially responsive records that needs to be processed in this case. Without this number, plaintiff can't evaluate, let alone agree to, processing a time of 6 months. In addition, because it appears as though defendant will be providing a Judicial Watch with a no number, no list of response at the end of the 6 months, it could be more efficient and economical for the parties to simply commence summary judgment briefing and for the defendant to file its opening brief in 60 days. So, in that, this is so typical of dealing with the government. You know what they're going to do, and they're telling us we have to wait 6 months for them to do it. So rather than telling us basically now you're not getting any documents and this is more or less what the fight is about, they wanted to delay it till January. So at the hearing this morning, and we have a clip, I don't know, we have a tweet, I put out a tweet about the hearing. That's an old picture. I think that's from the January 6th hearing. I'm the orc on the right there, and Michael Bekesha is the lawyer on the left. So this is a corruption update about, it's Joe and Hunter, right? So as a result of the hearing, I was supposed to be on the hearing with Zoom, but my Zoom got screwed up, so I couldn't listen to the hearing. And I was all ready. I put my tie on and everything. But Michael handled it well. I mean, I was just going to sit there as the client, just a quiet box in the corner. But we kind of acknowledged that if they're making this there is a criminal case, right? So it's going to be hard to overcome their objections that some of the materials we've asked about this gun charge or this gun scandal might be covered and protected from disclosure, at least for the time being. But our point was, and we tried to make it to the judge, Michael did, is that, look, we understand there's these broader questions about what form he filed and things like that, and whether he filed it, he lied on the form. We wanted to know what the FBI's response was to him dumping the gun. Was it a cover-up? What went on in that specific response, if anything? And so the judge says, well, let's see if you can narrow the request over the next 2 weeks and see if we can, maybe have a smaller set of records to be fighting about. So that's what we're going to do. So it's always a fight for what is right when it comes to government corruption and getting the truth out. But, we get these records, and I think it's important sometimes to describe the kind of the back and forth that goes on, because it isn't easy. It certainly isn't easy. And we're blessed with lawyers who have significant experience, and frankly, we are the #1 legal team in America when it comes to FOIA. No one else does FOIA in the volume and in terms of the importance of the cases that Judicial Watch does. I mean, there's just no competitor out there. And although I'm glad to see there are now some conservative allies and conservative groups who are now doing more FOIA work, and good for them, because we need all the help we can get. I mean, the government's spending $4 trillion. You've got all this crazy corruption. And with the way government works, you can have 3 different people asking the same question and 3 different FOIAs, and they will get 3 different responses. I mean, one group may get different documents than the other group. So my view is the more the better. But Judicial Watch, continues to be the national leader on these issues, and we only do it with your support. And it's difficult because we get documents, and sometimes we don't get documents. And in this case, the Justice Department, this is the quote I made. What was the quote I said? The FBI unlawfully hid records about its Hunter Biden cover-up and now is using the compromised prosecution of Hunter Biden as an after-the-fact justification for this cover-up. It's simply remarkable that the Biden administration is invoking privileges that are usually used to protect national security information to hide details of the FBI's cleanup operation about Hunter's mishandling of his gun. Typically if you're told that they can't even tell you whether they have documents or they can't even tell you how many documents they have, that's usually in the national security context. I mean, just think to yourself, sometimes, give me all documents about your special operation against Timbuktu. Well, they don't even want to admit they have documents because that would confirm there's a special operation or the number of documents and such. And here they're treating Hunter Biden's podunk felony charge on guns like a national security investigation. Isn't that convenient in terms of secrecy? So we're going to keep on fighting. We've got at least a dozen lawsuits on Joe Biden corruption issues, and so there's much more to come in this area generally. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.